Welcome to the class on using Zoom, made for the Olive Free Library by Christine Powers of Mobile Powers in Olive Bridge, New York. This class is on using Zoom, so we're going to start with a couple of different ways to get to Zoom. If you already have a Zoom account, that's great. If you don't, you would go ahead and launch a browser and type in zoom.us. And from here you would go ahead and sign up or sign in as the case were. I'm going to sign in because I do have a Zoom account. And I think I remember the password. Oh, no, it's not that one. I think it's this one. Oh, the frustration of so many passwords, correct? So here I am logged on to the Zoom account assigned to me on the website zoom.us. If you want to actually have a Zoom meeting though, you will have to use the app. So when you come here and it asks you to download the app, you definitely want to. So if I wanted to schedule a meeting, I can click on it from here and I can do all that basic stuff. But if I wanted to join a meeting, I would put in the information for that meeting, and then that would launch this app here. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize this window, and we're going to take a look at this app. And we're going to do most of our class here in this app, looking at the settings that are can be changed in this app. Sorry, typing my password and talking at the same time does not always work. And here, once you launch this app, you may get some questions like this. Zoom would like to access my microphone. I'm going to say that's okay. And now here I am on the application that is launched when you go ahead and have a meeting in Zoom. So we're going to scroll up here. I'm moving my mouse. You can see to the upper right hand corner, and when I hover the mouse over this little gear, I can see that's the settings gear. So from here we can go ahead and make lots of changes. There are all of these tabs to look at. There are several of them. We're going to take a quick look at most of them. We won't necessarily do much in each of the tabs. In the one by default that comes up, General, you have default options that Zoom thinks might be the best options for you. But maybe you want to change them. Maybe you do have dual monitors and you want to go ahead and make that change. Maybe you want to have a full screen. These are all things that you can go ahead and take a look at. I like having this one checked, show my meeting duration, because that will tell me how long my meeting has been going on, and because I don't have a professional Zoom account, I'll know when I'm approaching that 40-minute time limit that is part of the free version of using Zoom. Your other options here, you can stop your video when your display is off or the screensaver begins, and you can go ahead and look at any of these options and see if they're the right option for you. Changing the theme, if you're using the dark theme mode on your operating system, maybe you want to go ahead and do the same thing, or light. There's an option for thumbs up for doing emojis, and you can change the skin tone there. Now we get to see the video, and here I click on it and Zoom says, is it okay to access this camera? I'm going to say okay. Here I am, and here's where we can play around some more. There's these options here which are dependent upon what you're using for a device. Mirror my video, you can kind of see my background there, and if I uncheck that box you can see it flips me around. So by default the camera it does a mirror, so that if you're, I have a yoga class that I take on Zoom, if she says use your right side, if she has this mirror my video on, then we're looking at her right side properly, if that makes sense. Okay, one of the best features right there, I'm going to grab it right now, is touch up my appearance, and I can go ahead and change that. You can see, watch the skin tone, you can see kind of a brightness and a glow on my cheeks that goes up and down, or it shows you more wrinkles and such. So you can go ahead and make those changes. You can make adjustments for the light in the room, and again, you need to take a look and see which of these options work best for you. I like to have this one on right here when people are in a Zoom meeting that don't have their video on, just so I don't have to see that their name is up there. I know that they're there. These are great options for if the screen always changing when the active speaker is going on. We're going to see some more of that as we move further in the class. So again, go ahead, take a look, see which works best for you. We're going to click on audio now. And this is where you can come and run a test. I highly recommend, if you're doing Zoom meetings, that you come in and you run tests and make sure that the device that you have selected is working properly. Again, by default, Zoom has checked off the options that they think work best for you. But you can go ahead and change those options yourself and see how that works out. One that I like quite a bit is mute my mic when joining a meeting. So if I check that, it means that every time I participate in a Zoom meeting, my microphone will be muted. I have the option to unmute, and there's this great option checked right here. Press and hold space key to temporarily unmute. So you can go ahead and have your mic muted all the time unless you want to actually speak. Then you press and hold the space key, talk. When you're done talking, you go ahead and let go of it. It's that easy. So of course, as soon as I showed you this great little trick here about mute my mic, I remembered I forgot to show you on the video tab that you can also turn off your video when joining a meeting. Now that isn't controlled by the space bar, but it can be controlled by just clicking on turn my video back on when you're in your active meeting. And again, we'll see that when we get back to an active meeting. The next option is share screen, which I use a lot when I'm working with clients to either show them my screen and I can show them how to do things like I'm showing you right now, or I can make it possible for other users to share their screen and then they can show me something that they're working on that's frustrating for them, and I can actually see what's happening and then maybe say, there, I see what you're missing. So there's settings in here for share screen. Chat is an option that not a lot of people know about or use. When I am conducting a class in a Zoom meeting, I really like to get my users to understand how to use chat, particularly when there are multiple participants, maybe more than 4 or 5. It's a lot easier to ask folks to put something in a chat rather than talk during the presentation and ask questions that maybe I'm going to get to in the very next section. So if people use that chat option instead, and I'll show you where you see that from your view on a Zoom meeting a little later on in this lesson. So that's what's going on here in chat, and if you're not going to use chat much, I wouldn't worry about making any changes in here, but they're all self-explanatory. Backgrounds and filters. These are kind of fun things, and this is popping up to say, do you have a green screen? You don't really have to have a green screen. You could have even a curtain hanging behind you might help. I'm going to fib and say I have a green screen. See what happens when I click that virtual background. You can see that there's my bookshelf in there and our desk. It doesn't really work that well. So, but these are fun little backgrounds to use. You can, when you click here, you can make some choices there to change the colors so that those filters, those backgrounds would work. But again, that's digging in pretty deep, and it may or may not work well for you. If you are using a smartphone, the video filters, the video backgrounds, virtual backgrounds, pardon me, work much better. And then there's video filters. You can just pop funny things in. I don't have them downloaded in this user that I'm using right now, but these would, put little those little icons on your face that you're used to seeing. I'm going to click on this one because sometimes I like to play around. I'm going to say go ahead and download that filters package. You can see it didn't take that long. Now I put that filter on, I kind of like that because then it covers up the glare that is in my glasses and helps me to forget that I lost my expensive pair of reading glasses that had anti-glare. So that's kind of a fun filter, but they're all fun. They're all cute. You can see what you can do with them. The next option here is recording, and I believe this only works if you have a professional Zoom account. In other words, if you pay. And I did at one point pay to use Zoom, and I may go back to that. It is helpful to have recordings turned on if you're teaching a class like I am, but then you also have to make sure that you have people's permission. I like to present the class online and then make another recording based on the same outline that I used, because sometimes we get off on tangents in the class. But I could choose recordings, and from here I have options of where to save them. You can save them to the Zoom website, which is the best place if you want other people to have access to them, or you can save them right to your own computer, and that's what I have set there. So unless you're going to use recordings, again, not a whole lot to cover there. The next tab is Profile that I just clicked on, and you can see it tells the name that I have on this account. I have a photo in there. I can hover my mouse over there to either add or edit that photo. I could change the picture, and if you don't have anything in there at all, you would go ahead and I'm going to say change the picture, and then it would say, where do you want to go to find that picture. I'm not going to change it now, but that's how you do it. And then you can zoom in and zoom out and then save whenever you're done, and that's the photo that is associated. And you can see when I click back here on this screen, there's my little picture up there. If I click on any of these options, it's going to take me to the Zoom website, which is where you would make more detailed changes on your profile. Okay, we're going to go back to the website later, so we'll skip over clicking on these buttons, which, as I said, will take us to the website. Statistics, if you're a data wonk, you might want to look at that. Feedback, information that you can send to Zoom. Keyboard shortcuts is a really fun part of these features to use, so you can actually really customize how your keyboard works for you by choosing any of these options. The thing is, you got to remember those keyboard shortcuts. So unless that's something that you're really good about hanging on to, you might not want to do that. Accessibility. This is where you come in if you have some hearing issues, some vision issues, and it's mostly self-explanatory, so I'm not going to get too far into it. The closed captioning, I'm still trying to make this work, so I'm going to circle back here, hopefully add a little edit to the end of this video when I've learned a little bit more about how this feature right here works. Alright, now I'm going to go back to Profile, and I'm going to click on Edit My Profile, because now I do want it to take me back to the website, and you can see that's exactly what it did. So up in here, I have some option to make some changes. I can click on my profile here, scroll through, I can click on Edit, and make any changes. This is something that a lot of people like to change your display name. By default, it would, if you put in your first name, last name here, it's going to populate that into the display name. That's the name that shows up on everybody else's screen. So you can put all that information in there. There's some more stuff in there. There's meetings that have coming up, or recurring meetings and webinars, and as I said, recordings if you had any saved with Zoom. There's more settings here that you can dig in much deeper, and these are options that, unless you're really becoming a Zoom kind of a wonk, you're probably not going to need to know that much about them. I can also click up here and look at some more of my information. Sign out. I can see what kind of account I have. I just have the basic free account, but I could upgrade to another account, a paid account, if I wanted to have more control over what's happening. That's most of what you really need to know about using Zoom here from the web. The next thing we're going to look at is actually being in a Zoom meeting and how the screen looks from there. And finally, we're going to take a look at what you see when you're actually in a meeting. This is using your computer. I will have another quick video on what things look like using an iPhone. But for this, I'm going to go ahead and create a meeting with just myself by clicking New Meeting there. And you can see I have an option there to join with computer audio, and I click that. But you may remember that I put in our settings that I wanted to automatically have my microphone off and my camera off when I start a meeting. So that red line, it indicates that those are off. I could click here and make changes. I don't want to do that right now. You may also remember that we clicked the option to use the space bar to temporarily unmute. So when I hold that down, then I am no longer muted. I can speak in this meeting that I'm in and then let go of that, and now I'm muted again. So I really like that feature a lot. And as I said, we could turn the camera on right now, but there's no need to have that on while I'm showing you. What I'm showing you now are these tabs here. They are in a different place if you're using a smartphone or a tablet. But if you're using a computer, you should see them here. You might see them up here. You could see them, I believe, on the left-hand side of the screen, depending on these views that you change. No, it's not under view there, but you can move those around. I'm not going to for now. If you don't see them at the bottom of the screen, you might have to hover your mouse, move it down. You may have them hidden. Security, we're just going to click on, and these are some options that you could choose. And again, you need to take a look at stuff and decide what works best for you. I'm going to click on participants. Right now, I'm the only participant. I'm muted and my camera is off, but you can see what happens when I hover my mouse over that. I do have some options there. And one of them is that rename option. That's kind of a neat thing. Maybe you want to rename for any particular meeting that you're in. You can just pop up right here and rename at any time based on who you are meeting with. But I might want to invite someone now to come to this meeting. I can let Zoom access my contacts, which I don't generally do. I usually choose email and click on default email, and that will bring up my email application. I can also click on copy the invitation, and as you can see, I get a message that copies the invitation to my clipboard on my computer. Then when I paste it someplace else, when I choose paste, that information is automatically pasted. So, maybe you want to put it into a manual email yourself or put it into a text message, something like that. You might just choose copy that invitation. But we don't need anybody else in the meeting right now. It's just us. If I clicked record here, the meeting would start recording. I'm not going to do that. We don't need to have the meeting recorded. If I click on reactions, you can see these are some of the emojis that pop up, and that raise the hand feature, which is something that I know teachers use a lot, asking kids to raise your hand. Again, rather than interrupting the speaker, you can just raise your hand there. I skipped over chat, so we're going to click back on that. Instead of raising your hand, maybe you want to ask participants in your meeting that you're hosting to send a chat message instead of interrupting the speaker. So you could type any message here and hit return, and that sends that message to everyone. If I click on these ellipses, I can say, oh, I only want the host to see it. I have a question that I'm kind of embarrassed about, and I think it's a stupid question. You could choose that. So you have options there, and you can also save the chat transcript when your meeting is done if there were some questions answered that are important to you. You can also send a file to folks by clicking here and using that. And that are that covers most of the basics of what you will see when you're in a meeting. Come back to the YouTube channel and hopefully we'll have some more tutorials ready for you very soon. Thank you.